Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Michael Egan. I'm a chiropractor, sports chiropractor, and a Trigenics functional muscle neurology practitioner. I also instruct practitioners in Australia, chiropractors and physiotherapists and massage therapists in registered Trigenics practitioner courses, which is a treatment-based and assessment-based Trigenics course. We also teach personal trainers a separate course on Trigenics functional muscle neurology, which teaches them the assessment and a performance enhancement muscle recalibration procedures, which are somewhat similar to the Trigenics practitioner procedures, but not as in-depth, not based for treatment, but based more for performance enhancement for your clients. So as you'll see, the title for today is Shoulder Assessment Made Easy. And what we're going to show you is the importance as a personal trainer or as a practitioner to do a full functional muscle neurological test. In Trigenics, we call this a neurokinetic examination. And that's what we're going to do today on a couple people who volunteered to be demonstrated on. We've actually done a few tests on them, and they each have a bit of history of pain. So what we're going to do is I'm going to explain very shortly a little bit about what Trigenics is, what it does, and then we're going to get right into some demos, and we're going to actually check and see how much each of these people can lift weight, do some Trigenics procedures, and then see what the difference is, okay? And if there's any questions that come to the audience at the very end, we'll leave that for everybody as well. So let me first just state, what is Trigenics functional neurology? Essentially, Trigenics is a treatment based on 3 techniques together at once, hence the tri. There's autogenics, which is breathing, a breathing biofeedback, a specific parasympathetic breath or diaphragmic breath. It is myogenics, which is dealing with specific muscle nerve sensor stimulation. Okay, and it's working on those nerve sensors. If you're a personal trainer here or in the fitness industry, the muscle spindle fibers in the Golgi tendon organs, which are responsible for length and tension and contraction. And lastly, we're dealing with neurogenics, which is dealing with specific neurological reflexes, exercise reflexes. One is called the inverse myotatic reflex, which is involved in your PNF stretching, if everybody's familiar with that. And the other one is with reciprocal innervation. And just to make that simply, explain that simply, is that if I wanted my triceps to contract, my biceps actually has to relax. Otherwise, it would do this type of motion, okay? So we're using those reflexes in combined with resistance. So that's why Trigenics is actually an exercise and treatment combined, okay? And involved with the breathing and the nerve sensor stimulation. When those 3 things are actually combined together, they get a greater effect on that muscle nerve brain communication than if they were done individually. Because all of those type of treatments, applications that I've just spoken about, are done in many different various ways. The difference here is we're doing them all together at once. When it's done together at once, Dr. Austin, the founder, who I'll talk about, found that essentially it stimulates the lower brain, sending much more signals to the brain, so it will respond and increase strength in the muscles and increase range of motion and decrease pain. So quickly, essentially, that's just a little bit of my details. So I work at Elevate Performance in the city CBD, where I practice chiropractic and Trigenics. So retrain the brain for optimal muscle and brain communication, function, and performance. So we're going to go through a functional examination here. We're going to show you how we can retrain the brain to increase strength, range of motion, and decrease pain. Okay? This is Dr. Alan Austin. He is the founder of Trigenics. He's based in Canada. He essentially is a sports chiropractor, an osteopath. He has a sports rehabilitation designation and a sports chiropractic designation. He also lectures at an Estonian university in Tallinn, and he is the founder of Trigenics. And that's where the Trigenics Institute is, in Canada, based in Toronto, Ontario, and I am your Australian Trigenics representative. So, improving brain and body communication through the combination of exercise and treatment stimulation. Okay, we're going to increase strength, we're going to increase movement, and we're going to decrease pain. Okay, so first demonstrations I'm going to show you the importance of muscle neurokinetic examination. And this is essentially the chart that we work off of and recommend that personal trainers work off. Essentially, let's think of the personal trainer in a racing car scenario. You guys are essentially the pit crew team. You're the one that is recalibrating and making sure that the engine and everything's performing at its best. The athlete, being the racing car or the person that you're training, is who you're working with. And a Trigenics practitioner is essentially the master mechanic. When we're not in competition and we're not training, that person is really making sure that everything is functioning at its best. And how are we going to determine that? Well, this full body muscle neurokinetic examination is going to tell us how your brain and muscles are balancing. Okay, so we're going to look for weak muscles and we're going to look for short muscles. And when that happens, it can actually lead to pain and dysfunction. It can, the brain will remember improper movement patterns, which can lead to dysfunction and pain later on. So instead of just looking at one area, we actually look at this whole body to make sure that you're working at optimal performance. And as a pit car technician, you're basically going to do this with your athletes prior to their competing, because you don't want to be training them blindly. So identifying the weak and short muscles, you're going to be able to make a better treatment plan initially for them so that they're building their strength and their core strength prior to actually training very hard, causing injury. Okay, because often the most common reason athletes don't achieve their goal is essentially injury. Okay, so if you can prevent injury so they can continue performing at their best, you're going to have a better functioning athlete, better performance. Okay, so let's bring up an example. And this is basically an example here of some imbalances we had on somebody before, where we can really see that pain might be in one area, but dysfunction might be coming from a lot of different areas. The blue muscles are the ones that are weak, meaning the brain is not sending enough muscles to them, or messages to the muscle, and also known as inhibition. The ones that are red are the ones that are sending too much information, and it's becoming over-facilitated and short and tight. So you can see there's kind of this muscle pull pattern, spirodiagonal type of representation over here of a hip not functioning at its best. There's some weak muscles on the opposite side and short and tight. And then when you see actually that there's muscles both weak and short, it's usually a sign that this person's probably had some chronic injury and it's been there for a little while. So Trigenics essentially has, that's just an example of the upper limb, has a few different procedures. One, to actually correct those imbalances, to get those signals firing correctly, to increase the strength and increase the length of the muscle, the range of motion. So essentially you would do these procedures on the weak ones and the ones on the short ones. So let me just bring up a couple people that we've actually done some demonstrations on. I'll chart it up so you can see, and then we're going to do some tests with the weights, some treatment, and show some actual differences. Everybody okay with that? Okay, the first person we have coming up is Charlie. Charlie, come on up, Charlie. Just grab a seat over here. Okay. So Charlie, Charlie's got pain in both shoulders. Is that correct? Yep. Okay. And Charlie, what have you done for this so far?
What have I done with you so far?
What have you done for this shoulder pain so far?
Just some trigger point rolling and stuff like that. That's about it. Yeah.
Okay. And Charlie, what does it limit you from doing? What do you have trouble doing?
Overhead stuffs, push-ups, most overhead movement, yeah.
Okay, so problems doing overhead movement and push-ups. All right, so what we're going to do first is identify what's going on with Charlie's neurokinetic map. Okay, he's got bilateral pain. We're going to see that one side's got a little bit more dysfunction than the other. So what we've just done there is a very quick assessment that you can do on your own. That's very specific muscles that we're looking at that are short, sending too many messages. When we tried to raise his arm up to the side of his head, he couldn't do it on both sides. That's classic in a shoulder impingement. It's also a sign that the muscle that would restrict that range of motion when we try to lengthen it, that's the latissimus dorsi. So that's telling us this big swimming muscle is really short and tight, not allowing him to get up, okay? So there may actually be some muscles on the other side that are possibly weak and dysfunctional because of that. So now what we're gonna do is muscle break testing, isolating every specific muscle, acting on the shoulder and the shoulder blade to see which ones are either weak or strong. Okay, so this is Charlie's map right here. What we see, if you want to zoom in on that, is on the front, we can see a number of muscles that are blue. Those are the ones that are short or weak, not getting enough information. The ones that are red, it's just a little one here, just in this section, the subscapularis, which is weak and short. Again, I said that's a sign that this has been a chronic condition. This has been a problem for a long time, hasn't it? Okay. When we look at the back, he couldn't raise his arms above his head, if you recall that. Often this is due to a very tight lat dorsi. On both sides, he struggled with that. So that's come up pretty clear on this chart, okay? Now, we also look at a number of muscles acting on his rotator cuff, infraspinatus, subscapularis, and supraspin. They're all very weak, as well as his lat dorsi. So it's a combination of inhibition and over-facilitation. Now, what we're also going to get him to do is just lie on your stomach quickly, Charlie. Hold your arm up here, thumb turn backwards, hold, thumb back, don't let me push down, hold, okay, right here, hold, don't let me push down, okay, and right here, hold, don't let me push down. That one's strong. Sitting up again. Okay, so that's just checking a few of the scap stabilizers. So it's important to be very thorough when you're looking at this. The reason being, if we don't correct all of the nerve signals that are firing at their best, we're not going to get complete care, okay? Now, with that test, is that not very important as a personal trainer to know what's going on? With the muscles that are weak, what are we going to do? We're going to try to isolate and strengthen those muscles, aren't we? So we know that his scap stabilizers aren't firing properly, his mid-trap, low-trap, and rhomboids. So that might be ones that we want to start with isolated strengthening exercises, okay? And possibly for stretching for all the ones that are really tight. That's the baseline you can do. Now what we're going to do is basically test him to, actually what I'll do is somebody come up and actually do some muscle tests here just to compare, okay? Yana, come on up, okay? You're familiar with muscle testing? Okay, so essentially what you're going to do is very carefully, he's going to hold his arm up like this. I'm just going to have you do one test. You're going to look at me first, okay? You're going to place your hand like this, 90 degrees. That's how a proper muscle test will be done. The first second, you're going to let him know that it's coming on. Second second, you're going to push. And third second, you're going to come off. You are going to try and push it down, though, okay? And come off. You don't want to hurt him, though, so that's why you let him know it's coming on. Just try it on this side. Get your arm at 90 degrees like that, okay? First, second touching, and then push down, give it a good push, and relax and come off. So that's nice and strong. Now you're gonna do it over on this side as well. It's a bit sensitive, so be a little bit careful. Arm at 90 degrees, and push down. Give it a good push. Push down. No, you gotta push a little bit harder. Elbow straight up, and give it a push down. Okay, so it feels a little bit weaker. Okay, you're not as familiar with muscle testing, that's all right. Now you're gonna try this one here, holding like that. Just try that one now. Okay, give it a good push. Yep, push hard. Yeah, and you can see that's a bit weak. Okay, so very clearly. Okay, thank you very much. Have a seat. All right, now let's just take that mid-deltoid that tested weak, and we're going to have him do an isolated mid-trap or mid-deltoid fly. Okay, we're going to start maybe with 8 kilos here for you. What I'm going to get you to do, Charlie, is you're going to stand here like this. Okay, and with your arm at 90 degrees. You're going to lift up perfect like this, doing as many as you can. Do you do much weight training with your shoulders? A little bit? What kind of weight do you think you can actually manage here? You don't know? Okay, we'll start with we'll actually start with the 10s. See what we can do, okay? So 90 degrees like this. You're gonna stand nice and straight, and you're gonna do this for me, okay? Start with your left hand for me. Their left hand, stand nice and straight. Hold on, let's get you perfect. Okay, 90 degrees. Put your hand on your side like that. Okay, and you're gonna do as many as you can, bringing your elbow up to the side like that for me. Does that seem a little bit hard? Okay, you're gonna stop there. We're gonna start with the 8s. Okay, this one here, elbow straight, and you're gonna lift up sideways for me as much as you can. 1, 2, get the elbow all the way up. 3, 4, elbow all the way up. 5, 6, keep it straight, go straight sideways. 7, okay, I'd say you're about failing there, okay? Let's try the other side now. Okay, he doesn't think he can do it. Oh, he's having trouble really raising up. 1, 2, 3, and he's really starting to use some of the other muscles now. 4, 5, it's not really using that muscle. Okay, so 5. It's not the best quality. He is able to get it up. So definitely can see a bit more activation on that left side, correct? Everybody see that? Okay, what we're gonna do now is some Trigenics strengthening procedures on his right mid-deltoid, and then we're gonna compare. Okay, is that okay with you, Charlie? Okay, so Charlie, have a seat for me. Trigenics is the treatment. I'm going to do some treatment-based procedures because this is actually a tough shoulder. But we do have procedures that personal trainers can actually learn and still get some of these effects, okay? And it's not a treatment-based, it's more of a muscle activation. Okay, now you're going to take a deep breath in through your nose. And when you breathe out, you're going to take a nice, slow, controlled breath out, making a hissing sound, okay? Okay, so you're going to do that breathing as you move through a specific resisted movement that I do, okay? And then I'm going to contact the muscle a specific way. Okay, so what we're going to do now is actually test this. Hold it up like this. Don't let me push it down. Hold hard. That is super, super strong now, okay? We're going to turn it on this direction right here. We tested it earlier. Don't let me push it down. And in fact, there's one more muscle that we should test that we demonstrated to you. 1 second. Let me strengthen it. Okay, so perfect confirmation that we've actually made a change. How much different does that feel there, Charlie?
Definitely feels different. Feels better, yeah.
What feels different?
I feel stronger.
Okay.
Yeah, not as much pain.
Not as much pain and stronger. Trigenics instantly increases strength, instantly decreases pain, and increases range of motion. One more thing we're going to do for Charlie here is show how we can increase some range of motion. Okay, we got full range of motion in a matter of seconds, and there's no pain. You had pain with that, right, Charlie? No pain with that? No, but you had pain with it before. Wonderful. Okay, now let's test these weights. Start with the left one, Charlie. Sitting up again, you're going to stand straight. One arm on your right side like that to brace yourself, and we want complete controlled technique, bringing the elbow to your shoulder. 2, 3, 4, 5. We're pretty much starting to fail there. Go a few more. No, that's, yep. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Not the best quality. Let's see what this one's like now. Hold them right at the side and go. Raising all the way up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Keep going. 10. Keep going. 11. 12. He's actually bringing it up to the shoulder this time. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. That's it. Okay. Charlie, how much different did that feel?
Really did. It heaps. Really felt different, yeah. I wouldn't have been able to lift it before. No pain, and I felt stronger. Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, no pain, and it felt much stronger.
There you go. That's Trigenics. Okay, instantly increased strength, instantly increased range of motion. Now, if you can do that from a training perspective, okay, and you can actually look at somebody who's maybe not so dysfunctional like Charlie, who actually probably need some treatment therapy first, and somebody can monitor them as a personal trainer with a Trigenics practitioner, and you can be testing him to see how he's functioning and prevent him from going to that route again, okay? You can also design a bit of an isolated rehab training program with him as well, so that he gets those muscle firing better. And in a case like this, what we say with Trigenics is that once we get the muscles firing properly, we actually want you to do those exercises, isolated exercises, so that they strengthen and you retrain that brain to hold that pattern properly, okay? And what you need to do is clear out all of the dysfunction first. So the most common question that I get, let me see if anybody's got any questions here. Any questions? Most common question I get is, how long does it last for? Okay, and the answer essentially is that this is a neurological treatment system. It actually has an effect on the brain, okay, and it is a permanent change. It has to do with neuroplasticity. Now, why could it possibly go back? Well, number one, we didn't clear out all of this dysfunction in Charlie, okay? So the brain is still interpreting dysfunction, all right, and imbalances, and it starts overusing and underworking again, okay? Charlie goes back to training improperly, using poor form, working really hard at a desk or something, okay? That causes decreased input to the brain and discommunication, and he starts to fail. So that's where you guys can come in as the pit crew team again and actually look for those imbalances and prevent it and correct it. Okay? Perfect. Well, that's essentially Trigenics. I think we're out of time. I had a second demo here. I'm going to do that demo back at our booth at S40, just by the Total Gym. We're at the Trigenics Muscle Neurology stand. If anybody has questions, essentially we're screening people here in Sydney. And we will be looking at any chronic shoulder, neck, hip, back, neck pain that might be able to, we might be able to help you with. Okay? It's my pleasure letting you know a little bit about Trigenics. These courses will be coming to Australia very soon, so look out for it in the future. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for that, mate. Thank you very much. Yeah.